So, so let's talk about ancestors. Do ancestors affect our lives, even though they've already passed on? I'm going to share some stories with you that clarifies that, and then you could make your own judgment. Have you guys ever seen the TV series? I think it's called it's like a medium show where the guy's driving an Uber and he picks people up and then he tells them, I'm a medium. So that show. I can't remember the name of the show, but that's the show. So in that show, he picks up a couple, and the couple, they're in the back seat, they're happy, they're laughing. And so he asks them, "Do you believe in mediums?" And it was like, "Nah, no, we don't really believe in that stuff." Well, we don't believe in that stuff. And he said, "Okay, interesting, because I'm a medium." And then they all started joking and laughing around, right? Well, no offense is what they're saying to them. So then he says, "That's interesting because I'm picking up your dead dad." So he's talking to the lady. Things get kind of quiet. And he was saying that he passed away last year. So she was like, "Yeah, he did pass away last year." And then he says to her, he's saying that he wants to go to Vegas. He's ready to go to Vegas. And then they both start laughing in the back. And they're saying that, that was his favorite place. He wants to go to Vegas. And, they share a good laugh between the three of them. Then he said, he wasn't able to make it to the wedding because, his passing was so sudden. So then they were like, "Yeah, that was a rough time. They didn't get a chance to go to the wedding," stuff like that. And then he says, this is where the tide changed. And he says, "Were you sick last year?" And then she was like, "Yeah, she was very sick. She had stage 4 lymphoma." I think that's what she said. She had stage 4. And she mentioned that she got sick after her father passed. So he mentioned to her that her father was negotiating for her on the other side. His soul said that, "You know what? I'm ready to leave because I'd rather it be me than her." And while he was on the other side, he was negotiating for her, saying, "Let me be the one to stay on this side. Let me be the one to move on and let her stay," is what was going on. So she said that she constantly prayed to her father, asking him for help and guidance, because while she was in the hospital, each time her husband and child would come and visit her, she would feel like it would be the last time she would see them. So she was constantly praying to her father for help, for guidance. And obviously he's an ancestor now. So he was saying through the medium that he heard her and that he understood everything that she was going through. And he was negotiating on her behalf from the other side. Right. So that was interesting. The next story I have for you is a friend of mine. He is from Thailand and he owns a Thai restaurant. He owns a Thai restaurant. And this was his second location. And it wasn't doing too well. So I would stop by from time to time. We'll have a couple drinks. We'll talk. And he was saying to me that, well, one interesting note, whenever I would go into the restaurant, you would see his ancestor altar where different incense and different stuff like that. So he would say to me, one day we were just chopping it up, and he was saying to me that he had made a promise to his grandfather that he would become a monk. And he was saying to me that he feels like there's a connection there where things aren't working out for him with the second restaurant, and he feels the urge, or his intuition is telling him that he needs to go back to Thailand to become a monk. So what it means to become a monk, based on what he explained to me, was that he has to make sure that he doesn't have any debt, and then he also needs to divorce his wife. So obviously they're going to stay together, but he needs to divorce her and then devote himself to becoming a monk for a certain period of time. And he said he will come back. So that's exactly what he did. He left. He went back home to Thailand. He divorced his wife. He settled his debts, and then he became a monk. So during this time, I remember at the time it was Twitter. We were on Twitter, and he was basically tweeting, his revelations, what he was going through, and his meditations, and what was going on. But the thing with becoming a monk there is that you only are allowed to eat once a day, and you can only eat from what the people are giving you, what you beg for. So he said the first day that he went, it was just very difficult. He wasn't able to do it for one time per day. But he said after that, he ate one time per day, and they meditated all day. So he kept on tweeting his ideas, his revelations, what he was getting, energy that he was getting, and just sharing all of his experiences. And a couple months passed. He came back. So before he went, he was a little big, and when he came back, he was like small, really, really, really small. And he was happy. He was excited. He says he has clarity now. He's focused. He's fulfilled what he promised, and he's ready to go to work. So when he came back, things started opening up. He started having new ideas and started figuring out what was happening with him. And his restaurant started to get better, started to thrive, actually. So that is story 2. I have a third story, and that third story is about me. So in previous videos, I talked about how spiritual warfare almost took my life. And I remember during that time, one of the things that came up was something that came up through a dream. This is when we first started understanding that there was an issue. So there were many dreams, but this one in particular stuck out. There was a dream that my ex-son had, and in the dream, it was a court scene. And in the court scene, he said he felt like everyone in the scene was deceased, and there were a group of people that were for me, meaning like they're pro me, and then there were a group of people that were against me. So in the dream, he said that both sides were arguing, and it seems as though my ancestors had done something that had come due during the time that I was alive, right? So bottom line is, they're saying that they need payment regardless. Doesn't matter who it is. It's within this person's bloodline, so y'all need to pay up. It's time. And a group of people were saying, listen, that's not fair. That's not how it should go. And there was a back and forth. So what was interesting in the dream was that he said in the dream, his father, his grandfather, who had already passed on many years ago, came in the dream and said, listen, he doesn't agree with the way this back and forth is going on. He feels like I'm a good person, and he has been a good stepdad, and he shouldn't be held accountable for what he didn't do, right? So, and it was a very vivid dream. I remember the morning that he came into my room and he told me about it. what I understood during that time period was that although we are separate, although we live our lives and we have these careers and we're doing different things and we feel like, we are the deciding factor in our lives and we make the decisions in our lives, there are multiple factors and there are multiple things, including our ancestors, that has an effect on the outcome of our lives and the outcome of our lives or the events that happen in our lives. And I just wanted to come on here and share that with you guys. And also I wanted to ask if you guys have had any experience with having any kind of ancestral issues. I would love to hear about it. Most importantly, um, if you guys have any ancestral issues that you know about, I would love to hear about it. I would love to hear what your stories have been. And yeah, sorry about that. I would love to hear your stories. I would love to understand how you guys went about addressing it or even identifying it, right? All right, take care.